I will talk to you about eutrophication in Venezuelan reservoirs. Well, in Venezuela, we have more than 110 reservoirs that have been built for diverse purposes. Okay. However, now some of the proposed drinking and industrial water supplies, irrigation, flood control, recreation, and hydroelectric power generation. Okay. However, their misuse and human activities in their basins have generated a lot of problems. Okay. The aim of this study were to analyze the cause of eutrophication of some Venezuelan reservoirs, okay, and evaluate remedial techniques and apply to two of them and to get some measures that could be applied to mitigate eutrophication. Here you can see the distribution of the Venezuelan reservoirs. Okay, here this one is Guri Reservoir, the biggest one. Okay. Okay. Let me introduce to you some anthropogenic degrees of anthropogenic impacts in Venezuelan reservoirs. There are two groups basically: the low impacted ones and the very impacted ones. No medium terms. Okay, this is a low impact. It's the Agua Fria Reservoir located into a national park. The protected ones are oligotrophic. There we have three examples of them. Tawasa Reservoir into the another national park. This is Huatopo National Park. And this is Lagartijo Reservoir. Lagartijo is a little lizard, okay? This is the meaning. Okay. And this is the Lagartijo Reservoir. That is an oligotrophic one, too, into the same national park. Now, prepare yourself. The highly impacted ones. One of the impact, or a bit impact, is this one, the pollution of tributaries that of reservoirs that are used to drinking water supply. This is a case of Paucachinche Reservoir. Another impact, erosion, high load of nutrients, sediments affects the water quality and reduce the life of the reservoir. This is La Mariposa Reservoir, and I will show you some examples of another example of the high impacted impact in this reservoir. Okay, this is La Pereza Reservoir. You can see too the shoreline, the high impact in the shoreline. Another important impact is the increase of water level due to the extreme drought periods and the high water demand from the cities. Some notorious cases I will show you. Okay. This is Tierra Blanca Reservoir that and its purpose is drinking water supply to the city of San Juan de los Morros in the central region of Venezuela. It serves to 8,500 inhabitants. And another purpose is recreation. Look what happened during the extreme drought period from 2009 and 2010. Here you can see the reservoir affected by the extreme drought, and here. Another case is it's a very important one because this is the main water reservoir for the city of Caracas, our capital. This picture was taken during 1997. Remember the color of the water, please. Blue one. Okay. The reservoir was affected during the El Niño and Southern Oscillation occurred in 2003. Okay. The water decreased, the level of the water decreased 20 meters below the normal level of operation. the most recent period of the extreme drought period, you can see occurred during 2009 and 2010. Okay, water supply was rationated, correct? Okay. Here you can see the effect. How? What was the solution? Solution was translocate large water volumes from another sources, but the sources are very, very polluted and eutrophicated. Okay, let's see what's the meaning of eutrophication, the high nutrient concentrations and that produce a high primary productivity or high biological productivity. You can see here, okay? Well, the same reservoir, Camatagua, the main water reservoir for the city of Caracas. You can see the effect of the water translocation to solve the decrease of water level. During 2009, the reservoir was filled with that from polluted sources. Okay, this is through the Taiwan reservoir, that is highly eutrophic one. Okay, you can see the effect in a qualitative form, in a qualitative way, from blue to green. Okay, let's see what was the water translocation. The volume was 3,000 liters per second from the Taiwan reservoir through the channel. This little point here, probably you can see, is Tierra Blanca reservoir that suffers the same water replenishment with polluted sources. And this is the Rio Guarico, Guarico River, that is the main tributary of Camatagua Reservoir. Okay, actual situation is this one. Green water, not blue, with the 95% of cyanobacteria. Okay, here you can see the effect of that water translocation. Color from blue to blue-green, Secchi transparency, more than 4 meters of depth to less than 1 meter of depth. Conductivity increase, total phosphorus increase, and chlorophyll A, that is an indicator of phytoplankton biomass, increase too. Okay? Now, this is a specific case. What happened if we gathered all the data? My laboratory works in limnological feature of reservoirs. Then, something like Gabriel Roldán proposed yesterday is something like that. Okay? Let's see. I will explain the meaning of each color. Be quiet, please. Be very calm. Wait. Okay. There are 16 reservoirs included in this simple model. Okay. Here, the data, mean depth, area, volume, residence time, and location. These are the mean annual physical, chemical, and chlorophyll A values. Okay. Then you can see Secchi transparency, chlorophyll A, total phosphorus, total nitrogen, and the ratio total nitrogen and total phosphorus. And nutrients, phosphate, nitrates, ammonia, and the ratio nitrate to ammonia. Dominant phytoplankton and the trophic state according to Salas and Martineau criteria for warm tropical lakes. Okay, let's see the patterns. Here you can see a very good relationship between total phosphorus concentration and chlorophyll A concentration. You can see here It's a very, very good correlation. Okay? Let's see what happened with total nitrogen. There is a good correlation too, but not as so good as the previous one, but it's good, okay? The less eutrophicated, agua fría, taguasa, lagartijo, the oligotrophic reservoirs, and the more eutrophicated ones, okay? The meaning of the colors. We can divide the reservoirs from those with low total phosphorus concentration and high total phosphorus concentration, 20 micrograms per liter, according to the criteria of Schindler, David Schindler. And I use the ratio nitrate to ammonia, where with low total feed concentrations, the oligotrophic reservoirs are grouped together, okay? And the blue means green algae are the dominant phytoplankton. Those reservoirs with low residence time of its waters, but high total phosphorus concentration are this colored in green. Algae different than cyanobacteria dominates. And those with a high resident time, okay? And ammonia is the inorganic form of nitrogen, and then cyanobacteria is dominate, okay? Then you can predict, it's predictable, the use of these relationships is useful to predict what's the kind of phytoplankton that will dominate the reservoir. Okay. Another significant correlations, very quickly, just to see, according to the books. Okay, and now the cluster analysis, that reservoirs were grouped in two groups. High nutrients concentration and low nutrient concentrations. Well divided, the groups. Okay. Let's see what's happening if we use the zooplankton. Evidently, I am a biologist. Okay, the colors are the same meaning, have the same meaning. Okay. Here we can use the abundance and biomass of zooplankton, and I put here the dominant groups of zooplankton. Just to have an idea, protozoans, rotifers, cladocerans, the water fleas. Those are animals from my reservoirs, okay? And copepods. Okay. Okay. Here you can see that in the eutrophicated reservoirs, other organisms different than copepods are the dominant. Protozoans, ostracods, and rotifers. And in the less eutrophicated, copepods are the dominant. Then you can have another good relationship between zooplankton and trophic status. Here you can see the relationship between chlorophyll A, zooplankton abundance, and zooplankton biomass. Okay, there is a good relationship between chlorophyll A and abundance of zooplankton. Okay, you can see a very good correlation. Biomass of zooplankton as dry weight and chlorophyll A have a linear relationship too, but not as good as the previous one. And there is a good relationship between abundance and biomass of zooplankton. Okay, you can see the body. Okay, then zooplankton is useful to know what the trophic status of each reservoir have. Now, I'll show you some case of water enhancement in Venezuela. One not as so good, another good, but after a problem that occurred in that reservoir. Okay, this is a case of Mariposa Reservoir, butterfly. You can see the form of butterfly. It is used for drinking water supply to the city of Caracas. It's a little reservoir. And the trophic state is hypertrophic. Okay. Here you can see a highly eroded. The anthropogenic impacts and threat are reservoir suffers high and frequent level fluctuation due to the high demand of water from the city of Caracas and water pumping from another reservoirs like Lagartijo and Camatagua that you know in these pictures. Its basin is highly impacted and eroded with a lot of nutrients and sediments to the water body. Okay, what happened? During October 2005, the water jazzing, Buchón in Colombia, Bora in Venezuela, another name, Eichhornia crassipes, the scientific name, okay, began to cover the surface, okay, affecting even more its water quality. Removal of this plant was not systematic, was very irregular, until Minister of the Environment ordered macrophytes have to be removed. Okay, then you can see the mechanical harvesting, but the problem of eutrophication problem is still in the basin, okay? The reservoir, but water quality was affected. Transparency decreased, dissolved oxygen decreased, conductivity increased, a measure of nutrients, pH increased, total phosphorus, no total nitrogen increased too. Okay? Water quality was affected. The problem is that the sources is still there. Then we have the same situation again and again and again, like you see in the following slides, until a new removal was ordered. Okay, you can see this picture is almost the actual situation. And in August 2015, macrophyte removal began again. Okay, what to do? Some suggestions are the following: protection of reservoir basin, forestry for direct wastewater disposal on their tributaries and into the water body, systematic removal of macrophytes, or an alternative measure, macrophyte use for an in situ treatment of water quality, as the plants can function as a biological filter of nutrients. Okay, you can grow the plants in the entrance of rivers or into the reservoir. Okay, and of course, incorporation of population in water resource conservation programs. This is not a very successful case. The more successful case is the following: the Pao Cachincha Reservoir that serves to the cities of Valencia, Maracay, and San Carlos. Okay. Okay. The problem with this reservoir are the following: tributaries transport untreated wastewater from the city of Valencia and wastewater from the poultry and pig farms. Okay. Thus, tributaries introduce high level of nutrients into the reservoir, and cyanobacteria blooms are common during the rainy season period. Okay. After linological characterization and remedial measure was suggested, is the artificial destratification. It began in November 2001, and after 1 year of continuous operation, water quality enhanced. Okay, here you can see the artificial aeration mechanism, okay, that cover around more or less 30% of the reservoir. Okay. Results, just to be to have a little summary: increase of water transparency, as you can see, decrease of epilenitic oxygen, dissolved oxygen concentration as compared with the previous supersaturated values. Gradual loss of thermal stratification, decrease of surface values of pH, decrease of nutrients concentration, homogenization of physical and chemical conditions, decrease of relative proportion of blue-green cyanobacteria algae from 89% to 83%. Not so much, but it's a very good change. Loss of cyanobacteria blooms and increase of relative proportion of green algae. Okay. In other words, water quality enhancement. Here you can see the results in a qualitative way. You can see aerated area, very clear, blue, and the green area, the non-aerated area. Okay. Well, what's happening? We have a natural lake near the region, Lake Valencia. Lake Valencia decreased its level due to a natural desiccation process. Okay. Then, in the early 70s, Rio Cabriales stream was deviated in order to replenish the lake. Okay. However, Lake Valencia water flooded agricultural and urban areas. That's a very several problems. Okay, and some of its tributaries were deviated to the Paito stream, one of the main Paucachinche reservoirs. What's happening? The high organic load and the high nutrient concentration were deviated into the reservoir again, and oxygen depletion appears again. Okay, all the benefits were reverted. The situation is like that. Okay, the early 70s, from this to the Lake Valencia, and in 2005, this is the situation, to Paucachinche Reservoir. Okay. Suggestions: adequate water treatment before its disposal to the reservoir tributaries, improvement of water treatment plants, enhancement of the stratification system. You have to recalibrate the system because there is a higher organic load, systematical monitoring of water quality, and, of course, incorporation of population to the water resource conservation programs. My final consideration as follows. Let me read, please. Results of limnological study have led to detect the problems in the reservoir and propose measures for protection and recovery of the water quality. In this sense, it seems clear that to control the eutrophication of water bodies, nutrient inputs should be controlled, especially phosphorus and nitrogen, and more specifically, phosphorus. A permanent monitoring of water quality in reservoirs and tributaries is necessary, and measures for the protection of water bodies must be based on the protection of their basin. Eutrophication is a complex problem, and therefore, the solution is not simple. And for the protection of water bodies and their basin, it's imperative the interaction of all actors, as you know. I would like to acknowledge Yanas, Academy of Physical, Mathematical, and Natural Science of Venezuela, the hydrological companies that allowed me to do those studies, the Ministry of Environment, Organization of American States, and the Consejo de Desarrollo from my university, and FONACYT that give me financing funds for do the research. And my colleagues, my teachers, and my students. Thank you very much. Lake Valencia.